Hi, I'm Siddharth Roy Kapoor, and I'm the producer of Last Film Show.
I'm Richa Meena, and I'm the actor in Last Film Show.
I'm Pan Nalin, writer and director of Last Film Show.
I'm pretty amazed. I just got in yesterday, and I had the opportunity to be there for our screening, and then to just roam the streets a little bit, just to get a sense of the place. And I'm really amazed by how much preconceived notions about the place are sort of being smashed to bits, in a sense. It's great to see a more liberal society. The fact that cinema in the last 5 years has actually been accessible to people in screens, in theaters, which was not the case earlier. And just the energy and the vibe at the festival, the sense of the sense of boundaries being crossed, the sense of all kinds of things being acceptable in terms of the sort of movies that are being shown here, the events around the festival. I think it's wonderful that this is happening, and it's great for Saudi Arabia. I think it's great for the region, and it's great for all of us who believe we have a large market here, especially Indian movies, where audiences are really dying to watch our movies but had no outlet to do so. And now for them to be able to see them theatrically, I think is wonderful. In addition to that, the fact that we can now come here and shoot, and there are so many incentives being offered as well. So it's a great start, I think, and I hope that the festival goes from strength to strength.
We had a screening yesterday, and as Sid pointed out, I was really deeply touched by the reaction from local people, people who live here, who are from Saudi Arabia, and many of them were young filmmakers, people who have nothing to do with cinema, and the way they reacted to Last Film Show and the world of movies opening up to them. So that was quite a learning for me, that how they could have been deprived for so many years, and many of them have not seen lot of cinema. They did watch something on the phone and laptop. So I think this is the Red Sea International Film Festival, I think could become a major event, because there is, I feel, especially in post-pandemic world, post-streaming world, there is a room for a great festival in this region, mainly Middle East, North Africa, and of course, even in Asia. So that way, this is like a big crossroad of great cinema. And I think they are doing it really a great job. Only second edition. I can't believe this.
Of course, it's because of Red Sea Film Festival that we are getting this chance. And what's most amazing about Red Sea Film Festival that it's bringing the change. And me, my team, and Last Film Show is also part of that change, which this country is going through. And it's so amazing, you see, because I know 40 years, no cinema, and so many different kind of bans, and now everything is being lifted up, so it's like freedom. We are part of this freedom with everyone is feeling. So it's wonderful. And I'm really liking the architecture, the culture, the beauty, and everything that this country has to offer. And I'm really looking forward to next few days that I'm going to be here. And I really, really want to explore Saudi.
Last Film Show is kind of loosely inspired from my own childhood growing up in Gujarat, in northwest of India. I was about 9 years old when I saw the first movie. And it was, of course, popular Indian cinema, what we call Bollywood. And I was mesmerized, hypnotized. I never wanted to do anything else since then except make movies. And I didn't even know what it meant. I didn't know what is a producer or director or writer, nothing. So I started kind of escaping my school and swapping my lunchbox with a projectionist I had befriended in a local cinema hall, and he will eat my lunchbox and let me watch free movies. So all these stories had happened, and they were being spoken about often in the family with friends. I had even stolen film reels from railway station and ended up in juvenile home for a few days. But in 2011, when India went through this huge transformation where all the single screen and almost every screen was going digital. And my friend was projectionist. He lost his job because he couldn't read, write English. He couldn't download the DCPs. The whole technology has arrived at such a fast pace. And then I realized he was not the only one. There were many others. And while talking to him, we just started discussing the celluloid, the film, the culture of single screen, what happened to those projectors. He said, those projectors are all trashed and junked and recycled into spoon. I said, what? Yeah. And he said, yeah, the film strips are becoming bangles for Indian women now. So that just started filmmakers' imagination, and it so happened that I was traveling back from my village to the nearby a city called Ahmedabad. There was a wedding party in the bus, and all these women were wearing bangles, the Indian bracelet. And I started thinking that maybe she doesn't know she could be wearing Stanley Kubrick or Antonioni or Amitabh Bachchan. So this kind of nostalgia, bit of sentimentalism, all these many multiple ideas, I can't sort of put it in a theory, but became a screenplay of Last Film Show. So that's what it is all about. It's like a love letter to cinema and going back to that organic, authentic nature of being a child, and celebrating that innocence, that we as a kid, we are not scared of being judged, that we want to pursue our dream. And so it's really about hope and dreams and celebrating light.
I was given the script much later, actually. Only when I asked that.
I'm famous
please,
for not giving
that
script.
please give me script. Because I really, so he didn't want to give me the script, and I was auditioned, and he just told me, briefed me about. So this character is Ba, this guy's mother, and she's like very different kind of character. You'll know. She doesn't talk much, and she's really content also. And so I was like, okay, this is something very tricky. I have to work a lot internally to kind of bring it externally. So yeah, I was really excited, and I was excited because it was him. And right, the first process, how it began, how I was auditioned, and then he asked me to travel like 16, 17 hours where they had their base. Uh, got me travel there. They took my auditions there again, and then finally was like, we'll be so happy to have you on board. I was like, as an actor, somehow it's just, for me, it's all about what I feel in my gut. So somehow all that happened, and the moment I got a call for this film, I was in a very blissful state. I knew that whatever is hitting me or knocking at my door right now is very special. So I just wrote, and see, here we are. When you really respect someone's work, there's this sense of, you can't help it, but you do get nervous because you don't want to do anything which is not right. You just want to be your best. You don't want to disappoint that person because their art is there, and you will do anything to bring your art up. So of course, he still makes me nervous. And we didn't. The most amazing part is that we didn't have a lot of conversations, actually. you know. So it was more of this. I would look at him and I'll get scared, and I know. And he would just tell me, she's like this, and I'll reach on set, and right before the scene, he'll be like, this, and I'll be like, okay. I still get nervous.
No, it was very unusual relationship because of the character, because her character has to speak very less and be the most powerful at the end of the movie. So at first look, at first layer, it looks like, oh, she's just a woman all the time cooking in the kitchen. But as the film progresses, without a word, we realize how powerful her impact has been on little Samay, her husband, and the whole future of the family and the kid. So if I didn't want it to start a relationship with an actor with dialogues and communication where she herself has to deal with silence. So, I try to use minimum words when I was working with Richa. And one of the casting where she did absolutely amazing job is to have this everything internalized, where you speak few words, but the audience is reading many more lines than what she will have to say herself. Usually through my other movies, from Samsara, my first feature film, to 7 features I've done, I like to give silence an importance in cinema, because very often the silence is misunderstood. If you have silence, it's straight away art house. It has to go to Cannes, and I want to make silence the most commercial possible. And I have tried to do that, because if cinema is imitation of life, then in life, we don't talk all the time unless we are in a Woody Allen movie, So so why not? In cinema, the life should go on, the emotion should go on. So I always try to look for scenes and moments, and which I can, where I can have silence, but drama still keeps going on. And in last film show, we took a lot of big risk in doing that. We have literally 12-minute sequence where no one speaks, and distributors were really worried when we had sales company. I said like, oh my God, you should cut this to 2 minutes. It's too long, and the very first screening we had, there were a group of people and they asked, I didn't ask. He said, but were you disturbed by the silence? And people said, what silence?
I can add one more thing to this. Like his last film show, Angry Indian Goddesses, I know as a fact that he didn't give the script to any of the actors, and there were 6 girls.
No, I think the way the actor's profession in modern time is, I think, is, when you give written script, it just limits everything, because then they start dreaming, oh, how many close-ups I'm going to get, oh, that character has 6 lines and I don't have, I have 5 lines. So and this goes for even big superstar and big actors. I've heard even in Hollywood people talking about that. So I thought they have to understand the essence of the character, essence of the story. They have to know that even though you might be present on screen for few minutes, but that presence can show what you did for 5 years. Like there could be like there's a simple scene which Richa had in the movie, which has so many meaning. She just asks her son, have you seen my white sari? And son says, no, that's it. That's the scene. Because he's been stealing her sari to make a movie screen, the white saris, So, and we know the audience understand that. Audience has moved ahead and got all that because there's enough milestone in the movie for audience to understand that scene. So if an actor, when they read that line, he said, oh my God, nothing is explained and how is this going to work? So yes, there's a risk, but of course, this doesn't. It's not a theory which you can apply to every movie.
So my co-producer Dheer Momaya is actually the one who put the film together, right? But in my conversations with him, I think he backed Pan's vision completely, and I got involved a little bit later in the process, but I felt exactly the same, because this film can only be told by an author. And the more people that try to get involved in the creative decision making in the course of that would only dilute it, because it's such a personal film to Pan. And it really is something that's come from the heart and from his own experiences. And there's a certain way that he wanted to tell it. So I think it's so important to give a director that, number one, the freedom, and number two, the confidence that you're backing them all the way, because this is a story that you believe in as much as they do. So for a film like this, I don't think it would have worked any other way. There are some films that tend to be films made by committee. Those tend to be the larger blockbusters where there's a lot of research that goes into them, and you've got to have a certain rhythm to the pacing of those. And, good luck to them. And, they do very well commercially as well. But a film like this, which is so pure in a sense, just needed to be told by one individual in the way that they wanted to tell it. And I'm so glad that it's found the audience that it has, because in all the screenings that one goes to, it just somehow takes everyone back to that first moment that they were in a darkened cinema hall watching a film for the first time, experiencing something magical and beyond what their senses had ever felt before. Whether you're in film or you're not in film, I think cinema has that ability to transport you back to that first time that it sort of took your senses over. And everyone that we talk to after the film really feels that. It also really is a story about hope, and about, India is a land of more than 1 billion people. We've gone through whatever we've gone through over the last few centuries, if not decades, as well. And it's been tough for people. But just the fact that someone from a small village can dream as big as the protagonist does, and then have the hope that that dream could come true at the end of it, just means a lot to people.